Hello everyone, Emily here. We are a couple of moments away from officially starting this week's episode of the Art of Senior Fitness Program Design. Today I am giving you a 60-minute senior fitness blueprint. I'm going to be up and I'm going to be moving with you today. You can move along with me and we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. So feel free to grab your lunch or grab your coffee depending on where you are in the world and join me for today's 30-minute webinar. Going to see if we are live on LinkedIn. I apologize to LinkedIn. We've been having some technical difficulties the last few weeks. It has been escalated to LinkedIn. They are working on it. But if you cannot see me today, that's been the problem. They can only hear me. They can't see me. Then I will repost the recording following this webinar. So we're going to get started in just about 2 minutes here. Welcome. If you've never joined me before for the Art of Senior Fitness Program Design, yes, it's a mouthful. I come to you almost every single week giving you tips, tricks, and strategies to create exceptional senior fitness experiences. So stick around for the next 30 minutes if you can, or feel free to watch the replay on the Stronger You Senior Fitness LinkedIn or Facebook pages. I'm going to check to make sure we are live on our various platforms. Looks like we are live on LinkedIn, but it looks like it is giving us the black screen and only coming up with the audio. So I do apologize for that. But good, looks like we are live on Facebook. And we will get started in just about a minute. So welcome everyone. If you've just joined in, we are going to start in a minute. We're going to talk about the 60-minute senior fitness blueprint. It's essentially my secret sauce for how I create the Stronger You senior fitness programs. So definitely you're going to want to stick around and hear these strategies today. All right. Well, it is officially 12 Eastern, 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific. So we're going to get right into it and start talking about this topic. So my name is Emily Johnson. Welcome if this is your first time joining. I am the founder and creative director of Stronger You Senior Fitness, which is Canada's first pre-choreographed senior fitness series. And essentially, Stronger You Senior Fitness instructors, what sets them apart is they get pre-choreographed material every single month, which they then learn and teach exactly as outlined. So today, I'm going to show you my secret sauce for how I create these releases that Stronger You Senior Fitness instructors receive every single month. So definitely, if you work in fitness or recreation, or you oversee someone who works in fitness or recreation, stick around. If you can't stick around, that's okay. You can watch the replay on the Stronger You Senior Fitness LinkedIn or Facebook pages, as well as on our YouTube channel. All right, so let's talk about how you make a class. So let me move this here so I can put my slides forward. There we go. So to create our blueprint, we first have to have an idea of where the general pieces are for this map. So the class components that you need in any class, regardless of if it's a 60-minute class, a 30-minute class, or 45, whatever it is. So the first is a warm-up. Then you'll have your main section, and then you'll have your cool down and stretch. So now we'll break down each of those pieces and talk a bit more about them. With your warm-up, the goal of a warm-up is to increase the core temperature. You want to get that blood flow to the muscles, get them ready for the work. You're also going to increase the heart and breathing rate. Typically, we're going to go from a seated or not very active position, and then we're going to start to exercise. And the processes in your body is going to change as it adapts to this new activity that you've decided that you're going to take part in. And as well, we're really focused on joint mobility during the warm-up. This is also going to be the time where you're going to introduce movements that are going to be used in the main section later in the choreography or in the class. And typically we want to see an 8 to 10 minute warm-up for a 60-minute class, or about a 4 to an 8-minute warm-up for a 30-minute class. And really it depends on the population you're working with. Some populations, if they're a little bit less active, they might need a longer warm-up in order to be prepared for the work. So you can keep that in mind. And why is the warm-up important? Well, reduces soreness and the risk of injury. So it's called a warm-up. So the goal is to warm the body and get it ready for exercise. Sometimes mistakes I see with warm-ups is people do static stretching as the warm-up. Static stretching should only be done at the end of a program once the muscles are warm, and that as well is going to help reduce the incidence of soreness and reduce the risk of injury. So let's talk about what you want to see in your warm-up. Well, you're going to focus on a few different things. One is the joint. So as I mentioned, we're working on joint mobility during the warm-up. And these are pretty much the major joints that you would want to see at some point in your warm-up. So as you're crafting your warm-up, you can go through these main joints and say, okay, do I have a movement that gets the shoulders? Do I get the shoulders moving forwards and backwards? Rolling them around, all those kinds of moves. So click the button there. Go back. Next is the elbows. So we want to warm up the elbows, get them ready for the work, especially if you're going to be doing weights in the main portion of the class. You want to make sure that you've warmed up those biceps and triceps and the elbow joint. You also want to warm up the wrists. Again, if you're going to be holding weights or bands later, we don't want to just put that pressure right on the wrist. We want to be able to make sure that they're warm and they're ready. Also the spine, a little bit of twisting, a little bit of forward and backward flexion is going to help to warm up that spine. We want to warm up the hips, both front and side, and as well as the knees and ankle. So really just think about kind of those main points in your body and ensure that, okay, in my 8 to 10 minute warm up, my 4 to 8 minute warm up, am I checking off all of these boxes? The next thing is your major muscles. And typically the major muscles are the movers of those main joints that we just went through. So typically when you're checking the box on one, you're going to check the box on the other. So one of the first major muscles we want to look to include in our warm-up is the deltoids. The deltoids are your shoulder muscles. You've got front, mid, and back shoulder muscles that you want to be working out. Biceps at the front of your arm and triceps at the back. It's going to be involved with that elbow flexion. As we flex and extend, we're warming up those biceps and triceps. Your upper back. Want to make sure you're doing things to engage through the posture, pulling the shoulders down and back. A lot of us, if you work at a desk, you've got a really hunched over posture. As we age, we tend to see that kyphotic, that rounded in posture in older adults. So really important to make sure we're warming up that posture, keeping the shoulder blades down and back. Chest, warming up the muscles, the pectoral muscles, the muscles of the chest. The abdominals, making sure that we're nice and tall and strong and we've got a good engaged core. Heading down to the lower body, engaging the glutes, the quadriceps on the front of your leg, the hamstrings at the back of your leg, your gastrocnemius, that's your calf muscles, and the tibialis anterior is the muscles on the front of the legs. So just to kind of go back and recap that, we're going to be warming up not only these joints, but these muscles. Okay, so we've learned the why the warm-up is important. We want to prepare ourselves for the exercise. We know the what now. We know that we have to warm up these major muscles and these major joints, but now is the how. You're wondering, how am I going to warm up these major muscles and joints? Well, that's, if you feel free to get up and kind of move around with me as well. I'll just double check for some questions here. If you have questions along the way, feel free to throw them in and I'll kind of come back up to my platform and I'll check them out. So we're going to activate those major muscles and joints. And today I'm going to take you through some basic steps in order for you to be able to do that. So I'm going to back up here and we're going to get moving, okay? So I know my pants are dark and the floor is dark, but hopefully you can still see me, okay? So the first is a march. This is your most basic move, okay? You can do it standing or seated. I'm going to show you a lot of standing exercise today, but a lot of this stuff can also be done in the chair. So the march is going to be your basic move. It's one of the most dynamic moves as well, and I'm going to show you a lot of different things you can do with a march. It's also a great move to say to your participants that if they are feeling overwhelmed by the choreography or they need a bit of a break later, they can come back to the march. So let's start with the march. You can do a slow march. So nice, easy to warm up. You could go a little faster. I usually like to choreograph and teach to music, so it would be kind of going to half tempo of the music and then going up to tempo. You can march narrow, which is what I'm doing right now, and you can march wide. So as I march wide, I'm starting to activate the hips a little bit more. As I come in, I'm activating not only the hips as I lift the knees, I'm also activating the knees as I bend. For the muscles, I'm getting those, actually the psoas majors, a muscle I didn't put on the list, but the muscle that helps us to lift our knees. Also the abdominals. You want them to have nice tall posture and to lift the knees from the core. That's really key. As well, working the quadriceps, the hamstrings in the back of your leg, working the glutes, working the gastrocnemius, working the tibialis anterior, and then of course as we lift the feet, we're also getting some movement in the ankles. So right off the bat, you can see just simple move, we're getting the entire lower body. Now, I don't like to do things boring when I teach. I like to really mix it up. So a couple things that you want to do is you're going to introduce this march move, and then you're going to start to build in some variations or your basic directions. So you might say, everyone, let's march forward. So marching forward. Okay, let's march back. Marching back. You might tell the group, let's go up on a diagonal. Going up on a diagonal. Let's go back on a diagonal. So we're adding all of these variations to the movement. You might say to them, we're going to go out wide for 8. We're going to come back in for 8. So wide and narrow stances. You might say we're going to take 1 step forward and 1 step back. So that's it's actually called a basic step in the aerobics and step world. A basic step, front, back, back. You might want to do a V step, so stepping out wide, in. Again, with that move, we're going to be focusing more on the gluteus medius and minimus, which are on the outside of the legs, and getting a little bit more of that work as well. Okay, so lots and lots of different things there. So you can see we just kind of check the boxes on all of those bottom half muscles and the bottom half joints. Now, we have to do the top, of course. So let's go back here. Now, we'll think about what are the arms going to be. So I'm doing my regular march. And let's say I want to warm up the shoulders first. Maybe I'll take a nice deep breath in, raising the arms up and back down. One of my favorite moves because it gets people to really breathe and back down. Maybe I'll kind of swing my arms forward and backwards, getting that front and back shoulder. Maybe I will start to do a little bit of pushing and pulling, so I'm squeezing the upper back here now. I'm also flexing my hands, so I'm getting that wrist movement as well, going backwards, squeezing, so going with the posture. You could be rolling the shoulders back. You could do a bicep curl, touching the shoulders. You could add a little fun to it. In, snap, in and down. In, snap, out, in and down. You could maybe reach up, reach, in and down. We could get our spine a little bit. We can do a little bit of spine twist, side to side snap maybe. You can tell I love to do a little bit of snapping. And so now you can see, just using the march, I was able to pretty much target all of the major muscles and the major joints in the body. Okay? Now, we will move on to step touch. Another one, very versatile. Nice and easy, step touch, side to side. You're stepping, and then you're not putting all your weight on your foot. You're just tapping it in, and you're stepping with it again. So once again, you have the movement. You're getting that side for the hips. You're still lifting the knees. You're actually still working those quads, the hams, the glutes, everything down below. And same thing, you can add in those arms for these movements. Okay? Maybe you want to go into a little more of a side. Getting the warm up of the upper back and the core. Good. Next is heel digs. Love heel digs as well. Back up here so you can see my feet. So with heel digs, step and heel. Nice and easy. And then once again, you just add the arms. Maybe you want to do a punch. Maybe you've got a combination you're going to do. Okay, whatever it might be. You're warming up those movements. You're going to show them for later. And, right now I am getting a little bit fancy with my movements. So I do want to let you know that normally I would kind of show the basics, kind of showing accelerated right now for all of you. And then I would go through adding and layering and going side to side. Also with the steps, I should go back to the step touch, not just doing side to side, but doing a double step touch. So we can go 2 over to the side, 2 over to the back, and then maybe on the spot. Okay, so we're showing them 2 of them. Again, 2 to the side, 2 to the side, 4 on the spot. Okay, so that's where we start to make it interesting. That's one thing that I really believe in fitness, is that we have to make it interesting. People are not only worried about their physical well-being, but they're worried about their intellectual well-being as well. So when we do these cross movements, we add layers, we add a mental challenge to them, we're not only working our body, but we're also working our brains, which is really great. All right, last but not least, we are going to the step tap. So very similar to the heel, which the heel digs, where we put the heel out in front, we're getting that extension through the leg, we're working on the hamstrings, we're working on the gastrocnemius, the calves. But this time we're just going to tap our toe. So we're getting actually a nice warm up here when we tap the toe for the anterior tibialis, the muscle that runs along the front of the shins, helping us to touch that down. We can also take this to the side. So we can step tap to the side. We can step tap to the back. So now we're really starting to target the lower back here, also the glutes, as well as the hamstrings. And we're still going with that gastrocnemius, those calf muscles, because we're tapping the toe back. And when we point that toe, we get a squeeze, we get a contraction in that gastrocnemius. So once again, we've got all these movements that can all be coming together. And then just layering on those basic directions. So to recap, when you are sitting down, you're preparing for your class, you're going to be putting together your warm-up, you want to make sure we're getting through all of these major joints and all of these major muscles. You can use these moves and anything other that the music is really speaking to you, it's really telling you, and then don't forget to kind of move around in different directions. Now, a note about if you're doing a seated class. Of course, if you're doing a seated class, I'd have my chair back there, but I'll wait for later. You won't be able to do the front and the backs and the sides. They're going to be more stationary, but do encourage your participants to sit at the edge of their chair so they have that movement in their hips. So they can get a little bit of, let's say, marching and tapping to the side, and they get that movement. Okay, we don't really want everything to be on the spot this way or front and back, tapping to the front, heel digs to the front. We do want to be able to have that side action as well. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'll keep taking a look down there. Now, we've gone through our warm-up and we're into the main section of our class. Now, you might want to do a class that has cardio, muscular strength, and balance in addition to your warm-up and your cool-down, or you might just pick 1 or 2 of the sections. This is where you're going to help your participants to meet Canada's physical activity guidelines. And so with the first one, cardio. Cardiovascular work, we want to get 150 minutes of this per week in bouts of 10 minutes or more. So our main cardio section should be at least 10 minutes, if not 15 or 20 if you're doing a 60-minute class. And this is where you're going to try to get to that 5 to 7 on a scale from 1 to 10. So your warm-up, you go from 0, which is sitting or resting heart rate, and you start to creep up until you reach 5. So that's your goal with the warm-up, is you're bringing it to the target heart rate, kind of just the edge of it. Once you get there, that's when you're working with your participants to make sure that they're working at that 5 to 7 on the scale from 1 to 10. And essentially all you're going to be doing is taking those basic moves and maybe some more fancier arms, more fancier feet, and coming up with your key content. So for me, I really like doing combinations. As I said, I love not just moving. It's kind of boring just to march. To me, kind of boring just to march for 5 minutes. I like to make it fun by adding in combinations and arm movements and all that good stuff. So for example, with a cardio sequence, I will usually listen to the song, have it sort of speak to me. What is the song telling me? Is it a Latin song? Is it a classic song? Is it a 50s song? Is it a 70s song? What is it saying to me? And then I go from there. So with the cardio, let's say I'm going to create a routine. So this is one of the routines from the new Stronger You cardio release, and it goes like this. We do a mambo front, step out, out, in, and march. Okay, so that's my combo. Up to tempo looks like this. Mambo together, step out, in, march. Okay, so what I would do is I've got this combo in mind. Typically your combos are going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 moves. 3 is probably a good area, and then once you've got those 3, you put them together, you add some arms. So now I know what my combo is going to be. I need to now teach it to the group. So at the beginning of the track, at the beginning of the song, I'm going to start with a slow mambo. So mambo together, mambo together. I'm going to keep repeating that for probably at least 32 counts. 32 counts is a measure in music, and it's typically it's usually a chorus or a verse, and it's going to be a good amount of time for your participants to get the move. Okay, so we've taught them move 1. Now we're going to teach them move 2. So move 2 is our V step. So stepping out, out, in, out, out. You see, I'm doing it slowly. I'm allowing the brain to go through that cognitive stage of learning where I really, really have to be thinking about the movements. So we go through the cognitive stage, and then I'm going to just march. So the march is pretty easy. It's that base move that we're always going to come back to, and then I've got my 2 other more fancier moves that I've got for this combination. Now, I'm going to have them pick up the pace a little bit and start to build the tracks on one another. So let's do the mambo a little bit faster. Mambo together. Mambo together. And I'm just naturally, I know it looks like maybe I am choreographing the arms a bit, but I'm just kind of naturally allowing my arms to do what feels good. And again, I would kind of keep this for a measure of time until I see my class is getting it. If they look good, I might speed up the mambo and then add on the slow V step. Out, out, in, and march. Okay, so then I'll have them go through the mambo again. Mambo together, out, out, in, and march. Now, if you feel they're ready to move on, I'm going to go all the way up to tempo. So fast mambos like we're doing, we're going to go up to tempo on the V step, and then we're going to do the march. So here we go again. Mambo together, out, out, in, march, 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 march. Okay? So you can see I put the combo together. And again, I'm going pretty fast to show you guys this over the 30-minute time span we have together, but generally you'll kind of draw it out. And this is going to last you a whole 5 or 4-minute track. Now, once you've got the combination, you might want to take some brain breaks. So maybe you'll do a step touch, let them just do a movement, and then you'll say, okay, we're going to go back into the combination again. Maybe you do it slow one more time before picking it up again. Then once you feel the group really has it, maybe that's the time when you add in the arms. So for example, I might slow it back down and say, okay, we're going to do some kind of salsa arms. Salsa together with the arms. Then maybe I'll add a clap. Clap, 2, 3, 4 on our V step. And then maybe on the march, I do a big reach in and out. Okay? So once again, you take your class through this piece by piece, step by step. You don't do this as fast as I just did it, but I'm showing you how I layer and then I add on. And so that would be essentially your main cardio section. If you're doing a 20-minute section, maybe you have 4 cardio tracks and you're going to do maybe 4 combinations for that program. Okay, next we have muscular strength. So I'm going to go and grab a couple of pieces of equipment here. So I've got a band, I've got a ball here. I've got a ball here. There we go. And I've got my weights. So with the muscular strength, same thing. We want to go back to that original list that I showed you. Too far. There we go. So once again, I want to go through all the major muscle groups. So Canada's Physical Activity Guidelines is 2 times per week, all the major muscle groups. So these are the muscles that you want to go through. So I'll show you just one move for each, and that you can incorporate into your program, and then then you can kind of add different combinations and variations from there. So first is your deltoids, your shoulders. Like I said, you've got a front, side, and back delt. Side raise is a way to activate that shoulder. Front raise and a back raise. Being careful on the back, you don't need to go too much to the back. Now, also a biceps curl, pretty standard. Okay, I'm going to just take you through some very just basic exercises for each of these, just considering the time we have left. Triceps. I'm going to use my band for this one. So with the triceps, taking one hand into the chest, one hand down, extending that arm as you extend, squeezing through the triceps. Okay, very good. Now, upper back. Again, I'll use my, I'll use the band for this one. So we come back, I'm going to take the band, put it around my foot. I'm going to lean forward and grab my hands down this band. I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades back and relax. Squeeze back and relax. And as I said, I like to incorporate combinations. So instead of just doing a row, I might do the right arm, left arm, 2, 2. Right arm, left arm, 2, and 2. Maybe I might add in a fly. So that's working the shoulders as well as the upper back. Okay. Then chest. So a couple things to do for the chest. Let's stick with the band. We can take the band behind your back and bring it up under the armpits. The closer you hold the band to your body, the harder it's going to be. And then just a push straight out. So this is going to help target the muscles of the chest. Something else you can do is a wall push-up. So doing a push-up on a wall, leaning into that wall to get the chest. The further you put the feet back, the more difficult it's going to be. You're also getting some engagement in the abdominals for that as well, as you're keeping your body straight as you go towards the wall. Good. As well for abdominals, a couple things. Just lifting the knees from the abdominals can really help to engage. You can also do a movement in your chair, which I like a lot. So you can do a lean back. Here. So I sit on the edge of my chair. I cross my arms. I'm going to engage through the core. I'm going to lean back and then come up. Turn a little more this way. Lean back and come up. So that's a good move to engage the core. And you can even get both the upper abdominals and lower abdominals by coming up. 2 knee lifts, lean back and up, 2 knee lifts. Great. Now, going down to the lower body, the glutes, the quads, the hams, all of these moves, one move you can get all of them with is a sit-to-stand. So sitting down in the chair and standing back up, using the quads, the hamstrings, and the glutes to do that move. And I actually do prefer a sit-to-stand versus a squat. And the reason for that is a sit-to-stand is very, very functional. We have to be able to help the older adults we work with get out of the chair, get off the toilet, get off the bed, whatever it is. And when you sit into a chair, you get that perfect technique. So I'm going to show it to you again here. So when I sit back, I sit and I get to go all the way to that almost 90-degree angle with my knees, and then I stand back up. If I just do a squat, you can see how in order to counterbalance, I can't quite get much lower than this. And even worse than that, what I sometimes see with older adults is because they're lacking that strength, we end up seeing things like this. They do this versus back. So I do recommend, if you're working with older adults, try doing the sit-to-stand. Even though they could, in theory, do the squat, I do see a lot of benefits with that sit-to-stand. Also, for the hamstrings, we can do a hamstring curl. We can curl the leg up, squeezing the hamstrings. We can do, for the glutes and the hamstrings, we can do a back leg lift. You can weight this. If you got ankle weights, you could put weights on it. You could also use your band and you can hook it around the leg, and you can pull back with the leg. Or same thing to the side. Stand on it, pull it out to the side. Next, I'll show you that one. So we can stand on the band here. We can put one around the foot, and I can do a side leg lift, working the gluteus medius and minimus, and I'm nice and tall and using that band. Right. For the gastrocnemius, we can do a calf raise. So rising up and down on the toes to work the calf muscles. And the anterior tibialis, we can lean back on the heels, or we can do toe lifts. Okay, so a couple of things. And then also for the quadriceps, we could do, I'll show you from a seated version here, we can wrap the foot, or wrap the band around, bring it into the chest, grab the band a little tighter to make it more difficult, push the leg out and back in. So that's a good exercise as well for the quadriceps. If we leave it out here and we do some toe points, also working that gastrocnemius as well. So lots of different ways to work those major muscle groups. Also, you want to incorporate balance or coordination. Now, I don't mean standing on one foot or walking a line. Those can be okay to do. Those are more of balance tests. But to work on balance, you are already getting a bit of the benefit through doing the cardio, the marching, the moving, and through the muscular strength. So the stronger someone is, and the more agile, the more cardiovascularly fit they are, the more they're going to be, the better their balance is going to be, and the more likely they are to prevent falls. But if you want to include 5 or 10 minutes of coordination exercises, then great to use a ball for that type of activity. So things like passing the ball side to side, doing things that require focus and coordination, doing balancing exercises, doing different things with the feet for coordination. At this point, you could even do things with partners. Partner work is a lot of fun. You can set up a bit of a games circuit around your class where you maybe have, bouncing a ball against a wall, or you put on a little picture of someone tossing a ball back and forth. Maybe you have a beanbag toss or darts. So these don't seem like exercises, but really they're some of the best exercises for preventing falls because they help with coordination and hand-eye coordination as well. So generally your main section is going to be about 40 minutes for a 60-minute class, and it'll be around 20 minutes for a 30-minute class. And then as we get to the end of our class today is the cool down. So we want to gradually decrease the core temperature, the heart, and the breathing rate, and we're promoting that blood flow to go back to the heart. Whenever you exercise, you don't just want to stop. If you stop, we can sometimes get blood pooling because the veins that make the blood go back to your heart they don't pump like arteries do. Arteries send the blood away to the muscles. Veins need a little bit of help. They need the muscles to continue to contract to get that blood back to the heart. And then once again, on the flip side, having that 8 to 10 minute cool down is going to help reduce soreness and risk of injury as well. So generally, you want to see that you're slowing it down. If you've done the cardio and muscular strengthening, then you're starting to bring the heart rate down for that portion. If you're only doing cardio, what you want to do for your last maybe 1 or 2 tracks is slowly decrease the speed. So maybe instead of a fast march, you're doing a slower march. You're doing a slower heel dig. You can't see my legs. You can pretend you can see them. And then once we've got that heart rate back down closer to resting, that's when we're going to do that full body stretch. And we are out of time today, so I can't take you through a full body stretch today. But once again, that's when you want to go back to those major muscles, those major joints. And again, as you're putting your program together, check, check, check. Make sure that you've targeted each of those areas. So to recap, from the beginning to the end, you're focusing on the major muscles, the major joints. You're adding in those layers and that fun and that creativity that's going to help also to provide intellectual engagement as well as physical engagement. And that's how you offer a really well-rounded, exciting class. So I hope that helped today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is there on the screen. And if you're thinking, hey, I love that information, Emily, but that's a lot of work. I don't want to put together my own choreography, then take a look at the Stronger You Senior Fitness website. As I said, our instructors get 30 minutes of content every single month in 4 formats: cardio, strength, stretch, and circuit. Circuit is our balance-based program, and they just learn it and teach it. So they have exciting new choreography for their participants every single month that they know is going to help them truly meet Canada's physical activity guidelines. So thank you so much for joining me today. Happy Friday, everyone, and we will see you again next week.